outside, blew his house with the blue little window and a blue Corvette, and everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around, 'cause he ain't got nobody to listen. I'm blue, I've been beat, I've been died, 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 I've been beat, I've been died. I'm blue, I've been beat, I've been died, 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 I've been beat, I've been died.
Sì. Uno, 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 uno.
Everybody, let's take a seat, please. Organize ourselves. Listen to Don Pedro. Okay, Cecile over here. Sabrina, sit over there. Thais, over here. Hector. Where's Hector? Over here. Taira. Where Laura is. Oh, Cecile, sit over here. Laura. Okay, Angela, you're perfect over there. Gia over here. And Maria Amelia over there where the Oreo is. Yeah. And Laura, you go over there. Where the Oreo. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. So now we'll begin. This is our last day, the second day of the theme, The Change is Coming. Will you be a part of it? So yesterday we had our 11th graders with this same theme, and today we'll be speaking and seeing the talent of our 12th graders. These are our seniors that have been preparing this talk session for us. Now, change is something that we see a lot every day, but the change has been a lot more rapid over the past year especially. None of us would have thought 12 months ago, in February of last year, that we'd be in conditions that we are in right now. So obviously, change is something that's coming very rapidly. Today's talk session will have different teachers. We have 3 different teachers in B levels that will be introducing their students, and they'll be announcing their names and their talk titles. So first, we'll pass on the microphone to Emily Perez, and she'll be introducing our first set of students for the first day of or last day, I should say, which is not Life in a Lockdown. It's Change is Coming. Will you be a part of it? So here we go. We'll start with our first speaker.
Good morning, guys. Our first speaker from the first block is Miss Melanie Arias, and her TED Talk title is Leaving Little by Little. Please give her a round of applause.
While the world fought with the pandemic, there are women who live and held at home. Yes, women femicide. This pandemic has aggravated the case of violence in very alarming way. Faced with the threat of mental health crisis, many countries made decisions to contain the outbreak, such as closing borders and approving measures to confine the population through national quarantines. Circumstances called for such position, but control of the pandemic compound already exorbitant levels of domestic violence in one of the daylight regions for women in the world. For thousands of Latina women, home is far from a refuge. National and international organizations warn that, contrary to all possible optimistic, the pandemic will defeat the helpless of women, forced to remain with their aggressor in the same physical space. National and international for example, in Dominican Republic, between March and early May, women filed more 3,000 complaints on gender-based violence through the lifelines. Under two complaints, there are 1,081 requests for protection ordering and 1,124 arrest warrants. And this is not only in our country. In El Salvador, between March 17 and March 22, we represent a 17% increase in complaints compared to 2019. And there are more countries, statistics, and case, but since the government only focus on the COVID, I'm not saying that is wrong, but there are many things that are happening in our country and the world. How can it be possible that we have reached a time where a woman doesn't feel safe in her own home, in her house, where she should be refuged? But sadly, there is the cause of the suffering. And what can we do if we see that someone is going through something? Let's call the emergency number in our country or talk to someone we trust. But don't only make the silence. With our action, we can save their life. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Miss Melanie. Coming up, we have Miss Cecile Felix, and her TED Talk title is Teenagers Are Dying Because of This. A round of applause for Miss Cecile.
Girls are dying because of this. Today, teenage pregnancies are a worldwide phenomenon. About 11% of all births worldwide are still girls aged between 15 to 19 years old. According to the World Health Statistics 2014, the average global birth rate among girls aged between 15 and 19 is 49 per 1,000 girls, whereas some countries rates range from 1 to 299 births per 1,000 girls. Rates were the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. Approximately 25% of teenagers gave birth between 15 and 19 years old. Pregnancy and births among girls younger than 15 are extremely risky. Nevertheless, in some societies, it is still common that girls marry in their teens and reproduce as early as possible, mainly because early reproduction may enhance the girl's low status in their new family. This is mainly due to the fact that childbearing among teenagers is desired in some traditional societies. This social pressure to reproduce as early as possible increases the mortality rate among early adolescent girls, such as in Bangladesh, where the risk of maternal mortality may increase fivefold among mothers aging between 10 and 14 years old in comparison to adult women. Therefore, a substantial proportion of teenage pregnancies and births are then intended in developing countries like the Dominican Republic. In developed countries, by contrast, teenage birth rates are quite low, and teenage motherhood is discouraged, debated as a public health problem, and considered as a social challenge. In some recent studies have demonstrated that a well-acting social welfare system, including appropriate psychosocial support and prenatal care, improves the obstetrics outcome in teenage mothers significantly. In this case, teenage pregnancy outcome may be comparable with, or even better than, older mothers. The second goal is the efficient reduction of teenage pregnancies per se. The WHO published guidelines in 2011 to prevent early pregnancies and reduce poor reproductive outcomes. The 6 main objectives were defined as follows: reducing marriage before the age of 18, which we recently did, thankfully; creating understanding and supportive environments; increasing the use of contraception by adolescents at the risk of unintended pregnancy; reducing court sex among teenagers; reducing unsafe abortion among teenagers. The main purpose of this program is to avoid getting pregnant. Unfortunately, sex education is lacking in our country, and consequently, teenagers are not aware about psychological basis of reproduction and contraceptives. Furthermore, many girls may feel too inhibited or ashamed to seek contraception services. On the other hand, contraceptives are sometimes too expensive or not widely or legally available. Consequently, the most important strategies to avoid teenage pregnancies are improved education of teenagers, the introduction or improvement of sexual education, and the availability of cheap and easy-to-use contraceptives. Since not all teenagers are in school, especially in developing countries, sex education programs have also to be implemented in clinics, community organizations, and youth-oriented community agencies. Not telling them will not prevent this from stopping. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cecile. Coming up next, we have Ms. Sabrina Cordones, and her TED Talk title is LGBTQI versus Bullying. Give her a round of applause.
I have been studying ballet for a long time, and I have had to witness closely the insult and humiliation of my friends, for the simple fact they are part of this LGBTQ community. This is unfortunately very common in more a circle like this, that is criticized for centuries. For this reason, today I was talking about this issue, and I consider, like UNESCO, that in education of the world, more human education is imperative to end this mess. I believe that our children, adolescents, and more, they should be educated to have more tolerance and respect towards this community. The UNESCO joins the list of organizations that includes agenda towards the LGBT community. And also by recommending the insertion of LGBTQ plus materials in the curriculum of the school as a measure to combat bullying. In May 2016, UNESCO launched Out in the Open, a survey on education sector respond to violence based on Netherlands of the government respond to violence based on sexual orientation and gender identity. It was supported by the government of the Netherlands and state that LGBTQ plus students are more vulnerable to being victims of violence at school than other groups. Now, I don't understand why in the school is worse, because we're supposed to know each other for a while. So, a school is like our second home. Parents, teachers, it's like our second parents. And students like our second siblings. We're a family that remains until to the end of the time. The objective of the proposal is to achieve a normalization of behavior towards the LGBTQ community beyond the Netherlands. Sexual orientation and gender identity are not recognized or protected by international law, and several ONU members states consider homosexuality to be immoral. Some still consider it illegal. Again, I don't understand why, because we are supposed to be human to life and not to criticize. But okay, let's continue. For all this reason, the report requests that tutors and teachers provide children with unbiased and accurate information about sexual orientation and gender identity through information campaigns and partnerships with civil society and the school community in general. The UNESCO recommends that curriculum and learning material be evidence-based and inclusive concerning sexual orientation and gender identity, including representation in content and illustration. Homosexuality is not physical or mental illness. It's not a genetic disorder. It's similar to heterosexuality, and therefore no person has the right to insult or give offensive comment about it. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is going to talk about one of the most positive things that we can have in life. Hope. Hope for the future with Thais Collado. Let's give us a great round of applause.
One, okay. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels like her last years of school have been stolen for no reason. Why this had to happen now? Why during my adolescence? These are supposed to be the best years of my life and I'm wasting my time. I think I'm not the only one who feels like that. But I really hope I am, because it doesn't feel good at all. When nothing motivates you to move on, when you feel like life loses its meaning, that your dreams are disintegrating and there's nothing you can do to make that change. And what I just said, I wrote it 7 months ago, and at that time, I had almost 3 months without leaving the same 4 walls, and my life was based on doing endless tasks and seeing what I found on Netflix day after day, the same. I know that many of us has the same experience, but the difference between each of us is the way in which we decide to take this challenge. Clearly, I took it in the worst positive way, but I realized that many around me were positive. And one day, I asked myself, why can't I do the same? And from that day on, I woke up trying to be as positive as possible until I succeeded. Obviously, it was not overnight, but everything is about to have an initiative. Find new things to do. Get out of your comfort zone, build a life plan, focus on your health, find something new to do that will make you forget all this new reality for a while. Everyone is going through the same thing, and you only have 2 options. Think about everything you could be doing if this had not happened and get sad and angry, or enjoy the present and try to make this the best of it. You decide.
Coming on the stage right now, Hector Sanchez is going to present us with our last chance. Give a big round of applause for Hector Sanchez.
Climate change. You might have heard about this one. I'm sure you have, because it's a very common topic, but people just don't seem to grasp it. So, here I am, and I'm about to tell you why this is our last chance to do something. Okay, so climate experts predict that by 2030, the global temperature will rise by 1 degree. And you may be wondering, is just 1 degree that bad? But I can answer you shortly, yes, it is. Even a slightly rise is enough to make our planet transform. And by the way, if we continue like this, in something like 100 years, it's going to be even worse, more than 9 degrees warmer. And we humans, the humanity, is the main cause and influence of this. I don't think I need to explain why does this happen. As I stated before, you all are tired of sick of hearing about this. But instead, I'm going to tell you why this shouldn't happen. In first place, our days are going to be even hotter. If you think that right now it is hot, wait till we continue warming up the planet. But also, the oceans or water is going to be acidic. Okay, no, way more acidic. Mostly because we throw waste to them, but also because the water absorbs our emissions. And on top of all of this, all wildlife is dying. The change is happening so fast that animals, terrestrial, fresh marine, freshwater, are slowly dying, are struggling to survive. And many of them have already moved to new locations because they just can't survive in where they are living right now. And I'm talking about just 8 years by 2030. I'm not telling you, oh, in 20 years, oh, in 30 years. No, this is literally around the corner. So I'm gonna make you just one question. Do you really wanna live in a world where the water is poison, the sun is killing us, and all the animals that we know are dying? Do you really want that? And if your answer, that I hope is no, is what I just said, you know what to do, but you have to do it now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hector. That was fantastic. Okay. So we're going to hear about the greatest generation to come by, the Crystal Generation, with Taira Sanchez. Congratulations.
Beep, beep, 6 a.m. I open my eyes, but I don't want to get up. I want to keep sleeping. I think about closing them again. My eyelashes don't even come together when I hear that scream, with which I was familiar already. It was my mother, telling me to get up. It's time to go to school, Taira, she said. It felt like a completely normal day. Actually, it was the last time I heard that scream. No, my mother did not die. But something in me did die that day. At first, I thought it would be a short vacation. I was super happy. But those vacations turned to months, 5 months, 8 months, almost a year since our life took a 180 turn overnight. COVID-19 became a pandemic, but not of what you think. Suicides, depression, anorexia, bulimia, anxiety, stress, obesity grew massively. Each day of quarantine that passed, the more lonely I felt. To top it all off, classes came back. It was terrible. Adjusting was terrible. The stress of trying to understand and turn all the classes on time was horrible. We were forced to adapt to a totally unknown environment in a vital state of our life for our future developing society. And you have the audacity to call us crystal generation for being affected in many areas of our life since we were children. And if adapting to this was not enough, we saw the social media as our only escape from this situation. Honestly, our biggest mistake. The number of mental ill patients of this generation is ridiculous. Millions of young people are influenced by the fictitious life of social media. This brought many to the brink of suicide. I know it's terrible, but you know what, Jinsey? Life is too short to see it passing in front of your eyes and do nothing about it. Even if there is a side of the coin that sees us as the crystal generation, even if they don't tell us every day, we are set up to be the most educated, most racially diverse, and most impactful generation that the world have ever seen. We are capable, intelligent, we are daring, creative, inclusive, we are respectful, we have overcome many crises, and those that will come in the future alike. So what then? Are you gonna be the one who opened their eyes, or are you gonna keep them closed? Thank you.
Great round of applause for Taira. Now our expert in foreign relations is coming up. Ms. Valoy is going to talk about how bad international relations done by the United States has been a danger for us all. So please welcome to the stage Angela Valoy. Round of applause, please.
Hello. Okay. Did you know that Trump tried to convince America's allies not to buy Chinese technology, and especially Huawei 5G digital equipment? Chinese diplomats seeking to preserve Huawei's position have been quick to take advantage of Trump's repeated blunders, telling European officials that they're more committed to multilateralism and technological openness than the United States is. Maybe Trump had his doubts about it, but that's not how foreign policy works. The United States is today the only truly global power. Its political and cultural appeal is so extensive that most international institutions reflect U.S. interests. The United States' position in the world is unique, and no other country in history has ever come close. It is the most important sport destination for 1/5 of countries around the world. Plus, the US dollar is the most widely used currency in global trade. And changes in US monetary policy play a major role in driving global financing conditions. Globalization is not just an economic phenomenon, but a political, cultural, military, and environmental one as well. Last year, President Donald Trump managed to increase the risk of war, push Iran to gradually restart its nuclear program, and provoke Iraq into asking the United States to prepare to leave, raising serious doubts about U.S. judgment and reliability. Trump also abandoned the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a slap in the face to the Asia-Pacific countries that had worked hard to reach an agreement that would have provided some modest economy benefits and kept them more closely linked to the U.S. economy. Relations between the United States and China are the worst since the countries normalized their ties 4 decades ago. America's allies in Europe are technically isolated. The Trump administration has made it clear that it thinks assassinating foreign officials is an authorized tool of foreign policy, and that war criminals should be glorified, a move that nasty governments are likely to welcome and imitate. Not to mention the situation with refugee crisis, looming famines in some of the poorest places on earth, and global warming all amplified by the pandemic. It is surprising to see the change that Trump has provoked to the good external relations that the United States had for much of the 20th century's successive presidents sought to prevent any single country from dominating the centers of a strategic power in Europe and Asia. To that end, the United States fought 2 world wars and carried on its 4-decade-long Cold War with the Soviet Union. During the 90s, American foreign policy focused on consolidating its success. Together with its European allies, the United States set out to create, for the first time in history, a peaceful, undivided, and democratic Europe. That effort is now all but complete and mostly crushed by Trump's administration. If the same Trump actions are followed, the world could fall into a great economic imbalance, including wars and therefore more poverty than already exists. Joe Biden, I'm seeing you. Thanks.
Round of applause for Angela Baloy. Coming up next, we have Gia Matos with the talk title, Limbo of Life. So round of applause for Gia.
Change is coming. I mean, that is the topic of this event. So, am I going to be a part of it? Are you going to be a part of it? Look, whether we want it or not, change is inevitable. So, short answer, no matter how much you want to run from it or avoid the concept all by itself because it makes you scared, it will come regardless. And there's nothing we can do about it except accept it with open arms. Don't get me wrong, I get it. Changing is scary, but it happens all the time in small and bigger ways. For example, I turned 18 a few weeks ago, and I wish I could tell you I am not worried of what's to come. Of course I am, but I choose to believe that this is what makes life interesting. It's the unexpected occurrences that happen ever shifting, ever so slightly, making us evolve, adjust, and absorb all of it, molding us to be the person we're going to be when our last heartbeat comes. We're reaching an age where it's best described as limbo of life. We're not kids, but not yet adults. We are pressured into choosing what we want to be for the rest of our lives. I mean, as the story goes. However, I've noticed we sometimes forget how inaccurate it truly is. We choose what change we want to make. Yes, there will be pressure, but we don't have to fall into it. The change, at the end of the day, change will come. Maybe it's the world, maybe it's your life, your family, your style. Whatever it is, the least we should be is scared. I can possibly imagine my life without change, and I don't want to. So even if I am in a limbo of life, surrounded by infinite possibilities, I choose to be a part of it I choose to be a part of it. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent job for Gia. Put your hands together for Gia. Coming up next, we have Maria Amelia Morel, with her talk speech, Respect as a Life of Value. So round of applause for Maria Amelia.
What is the first thing you think of when you think of respect? For some of us, it might mean an authority figure or someone you have high regards for. And although many of us understand the concept, very few of us truly understand how many things are worth our respect and how to even exercise it. Now, it was really hard for me to find the words in my brain to define respect because, well, what it means to me, it might not mean to you. And to explain the words in one's head is much harder than it seems, but bear with me while I try to explain to you what I believe is the key to life in 2 minutes. Jeez. Well, now respect has different definitions all around the world. See, in places like Korea and Japan, it is considered rude to answer the phone in subways, where in places like here in the Dominican Republic, it is considered completely normal. In places like here, it's considered respect to greet someone with a hug or a kiss on the cheek, where in places like the US, it is completely odd. But to me, it goes a lot farther from this. See, as young children, we were taught to respect one another, to tolerate without really knowing the reason why. But very few of us got taught to respect our environment, our elders, our fellow peers, our pets, each other's feelings, our choices, and sometimes even ourselves. See, respect doesn't necessarily mean you agree with someone or in full harmony with them. Simply that you choose to value and take them in consideration over your own personal interest or opinions. It is setting them aside for a second, which is not the same as disregarding them, and taking an unbiased look and properly assessing the situation from what the most morally correct stand. As much as I wish to say that it was, respect isn't easy, and giving it isn't either. True respect requires appreciation and esteem for that person, animal, or just life in general. Granted, not everybody has this ability, even though most of us believe to. True respect requires tolerance and a major understanding. True respect accepts the value and worth of that life. Now, I know I sound like a broken record, but you may still be asking, why is respect so important? See, when you respect, you don't fight, you discuss. You don't break, you hold. You don't fall, but you get up together. When you respect, you agree to disagree rather than getting the bigger part because you understand, and I emphasize on understand here, because you accept that the only entity of life you have control over is your own. And you treat other entities as ways of life that deserve value, respect, just esteem, and respect. Do you truly believe that if we respected and value everything as we should, our forests would be hurting? Do you believe that there would be people out there crying on the streets for liberty in this century? Do you truly believe that people would have hatred for themselves? Or that they would have the heart to harm others if they truly got taught respect? Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. World peace isn't obtainable. There isn't this secret tunnel to a perfect utopia or a bubble we can all escape to. As much as I wish there were, trust me, I would love it. But our future is up to us. And I don't know what the first step to peace is, but it's never been clear to me that respect is the most important one. Like Confucius said, without feelings of respect, what is there to distinguish men from beasts? Thank you.
Excellent. Round of applause for Maria Amelia. Excellent job. Congrats. Coming up next and wrapping up today's talks, we have Laura Sofia with her title talk, The Chain We Must Break. So round of applause for Laura Sofia.
The chain we must break. It all started with a woman whose parents weren't bad, but she had horrible energy result of a loss. Because of this, she became a doubtable parent who locked her child in dark places when was tired of her, who beat her when the girl spoke and did not want to be heard. A mother who did not care for the girl's emotions. That girl grew up and then raised her son the same way, even though he was a splendid kid. That kid, as both relatives before him reflected, snapped for no reason, hid, screamed, and did not care for the child's emotions while doing it. What those kids have gone through was awful. What his kids have gone through was awful. But I am standing here today, strongly believing I won't do the same. Because as everybody in my situation should, I decided to not let those things affect me. The way I treat people, the way I'll build a home, the way I'll raise my kids, and the influence that they then show the world they had. It is hard to ask a person who was beaten up for talking when not wanted, may plow the land since they were 11, a person who had no emotional support or understanding from their parents, to not be just as distant with their child, to not scream when they form an opinion not expected of them, to hold back their anger when they are tired of working, or not yell when they want a little more on their plates than can be provided. There are a lot of outside factors that can affect someone, and it's not only your parents that mold you as a future parent, as a person. But today we'll be talking about something I call the toxic parenting cycle, the hand-on toxic parenting cycle. A toxic family system is frequently inherited, causing damage generation after generation. The toxic family system is thus not something that the toxic parent invents, but rather the result of accumulated rules, interactions, feelings that have been handed down from ancestor to ancestor. It is hard to not follow a pattern when it's all you've ever seen. It is harder to give what you do not possess, and it is almost impossible breaking a chain you have no knowledge of. The toxic parenting cycle is something lived in almost every household in the Dominican Republic. We do not need much statistics. We notice it everywhere. It does not care for a single one of your needs, and that goes unseen thanks to its little helpers, which are ignorance, denial, and the worst of all, my parents did the same, and I'm fine. Let's imagine we interview the person with the worst parental profile in the country. What would that look like? The most mentally and physically abusive parent in the Dominican Republic, telling us why they do what they do. It would sound like total blathering. They're not conscious of their own emotions and why they're causing their behavior. They're ignorant. They do not know the connection between their pain and the one they're putting over their child. Denial is seen from the abuser, the victim, and even the people around them. An abuser will choose to deny if they have no interest in changing, if they do not want to be criticized, if they do not want to be stopped. The victim and the people around the abuse will choose to deny, as it is a powerful and primitive defense mechanism. Somebody who is dependent, frightened, and themselves the victim will remain silent, not hear or see the abuse, in order to maintain that desperately needed relationship with the abuser, or what they think is their safer choice. Lastly, they're not fine. Look at the horribly toxic behavior and all the emotions they're reflecting. You're gonna tell me they don't remember half of the pain? Thing is, truly, as mad as you want to be with them, pity should be on top of all else. Because what could have possibly hurt the child inside them so bad? This is who they are as an adult. It shouldn't excuse it. Once you know there's a problem, you must start working on it. But picture they came to this realization when they were 50. The child had already moved out, does not talk to them at all, and now there's another hurt kid out there, covered with an angry adult face. I learned about this spectrum young, and I decided I wanted to be a bolt cutter, a chain breaker. I wanted to be the one who performed differently. Though coming of this knowledge early and making my choice does not guarantee I will not resemble what I've seen, what I've learned. Reason for which I have to promise that I'll keep on educating myself, and I will keep on seeking for outside help, as it's essential you as well do. It's a bit utopic to consider that one day all parents will rise and suddenly possess
the highest levels of emotional intelligence and self-conscious. But it is never too hard to hope that by make-aware, union, and resilience, we will reach people. And maybe not by the time that Gen Z are still kids, but results will show, and they will surely make them better parents, sending better humans into the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura, Sophia, for pouring out your heart for us about the family. So that ends our program, and that ends our week. I want all of you to give yourselves a round of applause for yourselves and all the other speakers. Give a round of applause for yourselves, please. So all of your teachers, we're very, very proud of you. Over this week, we've had over 40 speakers give us their talks about life under lockdown, the first 2 days with our 9th and 10th graders. Our 11th and 12th graders over the past 2 days have shown us that the labor market is changing. The family is changing. The climate has to change. We have to respect, and just simple day-to-day contact with other humans needs to change. And really, thank you for helping us to reflect. We've been listening to teenagers, to young adults, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, even as young as 14-year-olds over the first day tell us and teach us lessons. And really, that's the important part. I want to let you guys know that as young people, let's think of the very first communication that you made. The very, very first way you communicated, what was it with? Did you say hello? Did you use a word? You cried. And you were doing what? I was doing it the same. We were expressing a need. Babies are born hungry. Now think about it. You guys are now changing from one part that you've been the past 18 years to a new one. In a way, all of you here, especially our seniors, will be born again in a way. And I hope you're all hungry. We need to hear you. Have you ever heard a baby cry before? Maybe from a bedroom away, or a room away, or a house away. You can hear babies cry. So basically, my words to you as Generation Z is, we need to hear you cry. We need to hear your sound. We need to listen to you. We need to respond to you. Because that way, we'll be able to give, not to only to your generation, but to the world what we need. So, in a way to all of us, now we need to reflect and do the changes that we all need and we know that we need to make. So we want to thank everyone, the technical staff, Omar, Mr. Samuel that helped with the telecasting, Esther, Kisi that have been helping organize this event, our teachers, Pedro Liebert, Emily Perez, Joseph Stein, Ricardo Cividanes, Deli de la Rosa. I want to thank all the teachers that have been preparing you guys for the past number of weeks. I want to thank the staff, the administration, both Davy Hernandez, the Dr. Sosa, our principal, Luisana, and our engineer, the owner of the school, Mr. Rodriguez, for supporting this event over the past few days and investing in you and in your progress as a person. Because really, these are skills that no one can ever say to any of you that participated. Have you ever spoken in public before? Yes, you have. And very well, by the way. So you guys are taking these skills with you to project it for the future, and this is what we really wanted to teach you. So thank you for teaching us. At this time, we want to invite to the platform the owner of the school, the engineer, Mr. Rafael Rodriguez, and he has some words for the closure of our event. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. And Mr. Rodriguez, please, a round of applause.
Wow. Thank you, Greg. And thank you, teachers and administrative staff. I am really impressed with your performance. Congratulations. You are great. Thank you very much. I did not expect to see and hear the manifestations that I just saw. Really, in some cases, I was thinking, did they really write this essay? Or are they copying somebody else's ideas? But then I realized it couldn't be that way. I realized it was all original from you. Really, congratulations. Y ahora, con mucho placer, invito a pasar aquí al frente a un amigo de la infancia, de la juventud, compañero de estudios en Mayagüez, ex alumno del Muñoz Rivera. Él me lleva 1 año o 2. Ahora es miembro de la Junta Monetaria desde hace muchos años de la República Dominicana. Y ayer me llamó para preguntarme algunos detalles sobre unos nietecitos de él que estudian acá. Y aproveché la ocasión para invitarlo a que viniera a escucharles y a verles a ustedes hoy. Y quiero pasarle el micrófono al ingeniero César Nicolás Penson Paulus.
Eso no estaba en el programa. Yo no pensaba que iba a hablar frente a ustedes. Y me siento sobrecogido con la calidad que ustedes lo han hecho. El nombre de César Nicolás Penson viene de mi abuelo, que era el autor de Cosas Añejas y por el cual le pusieron la calle. Déjeme decirle que llevar nombre de calle es muy difícil. Cuando era pequeño la gente me corregía y me decía, no es donde tú vives, mi hijo, es como tú te llamas. Y eso pues me fue haciendo desarrollar inclusive una técnica. Muchas veces la gente se sorprende y me dice, César Nicolás Penson. Yo digo, sí, esquina Rosa Duarte. ¿Y por qué le digo esquina Rosa Duarte? Porque es la única calle con nombre de mujer que lo cruza. Jóvenes, me siento impresionado, sumamente impresionado por lo difícil que resulta no solamente expresar lo que ustedes han vivido, esa experiencia en ocasiones traumática, y en otras veo que muchos de ustedes han sabido sacarle provecho a ese espacio de la vida, tan diferente a como nos tocó a todos los que vivimos ahora y tenemos un par de años más que el ingeniero Rodríguez. Él y yo tenemos el gran privilegio de haber compartido en el colegio, primero, que no estaba en esta ubicación, estaba en la calle César Nicolás Penson. Y luego, como él mismo lo dijo, en Mayagüez. Pero quizás la parte más rica de nuestra existencia ha sido haber compartido la vida profesional y la de amistad. Haberlo oído a ustedes, entre otras cosas, perdón, y hago un paréntesis, yo soy un fresco que escribe todos los lunes en el periódico El Caribe y con artículos de cualquier cosa, sin límite y sin temas. Y me hace pensar que debo escribir algo acerca de la experiencia que ustedes han vivido y que ustedes transmiten. ¿Cómo ve cada uno esta etapa tan difícil de marzo del año pasado a este momento? ¿Cómo nos impacta? Y como decía el profesor, yo hubiese querido decirlo en inglés, pero déjeme decirle que tengo solamente 3 neuronas que me funcionan bien y una de ellas es tartamuda. Entonces no me atrevo a hacerlo en inglés, sino que quise expresarlo en mi propio idioma. Cuando él mencionaba el asunto de cómo lo han vivido y las experiencias que ustedes han sacado, me hace pensar que yo debo escribir sobre eso también, porque esta mañana ha sido una experiencia particular. No solamente haber venido al colegio, reiterar afectos antiguos, sentirme parte de esto, venir a averiguar sobre la posibilidad de que un nietecito también venga para acá, otro nieto venga para acá, sino el hecho de haber vivido esa experiencia, de haberlo visto a ustedes expresar sus propias concepciones acerca de un tema tan difícil, hacerlo en el idioma que no es el de ustedes, con algunas sorpresas. solamente un varón en el grupo, que eso me resultó difícil de entender por qué ese desbalance tan grande. Se ven en las universidades también, pero no lo había concebido nunca a nivel de bachillerato. Jóvenes, reitero, les digo que les felicito, me voy gratamente sorprendido y más que nada convencido de la calidad del Colegio Luis Muñoz Rivera. Esa posibilidad de pararme frente a ustedes y hablar, la aprendí en el colegio. La aprendí con las asambleas, con Mr. Rodríguez, el padre del ingeniero Rofi Rodríguez, con Mrs., su madre, que me enseñó también muchas cosas que han sido prácticas en la vida. Yo soy un ejemplo vivo, agradecido de lo que el colegio significó para mí. Y extrañamente, hoy sigo aprendiendo del Muñoz Rivera. Felicitaciones.